Hey guys, thanks for joining us here at Sketch-A-Day. Welcome back. I'm Spencer. If you have no idea what this is, I'm a designer. I've been doing this for about 10 years and I love drawing. So this is my YouTube channel. This is where I share things. If you are new and if you aren't new, it doesn't really matter, but make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on alerts. That way you don't miss when I post. Also, feel free to come say hi on all my social media stuff. Those links are below. So today I'm going to be fulfilling a request. I love it when you guys give me requests and ideas. So definitely comment below, hit me up on the community page or any of my socials, whatever. But that request was, hey, how do I draw really thin things like scissors, which can be really hard. Now, I'm not going to put hands in because that certainly complicates things, but we'll talk about the mechanics of how I break something down like that. So we're going to be using tracing paper, paper made flares, felt pens, all that's below in the description, but it doesn't really matter what you have. The most important thing is just to get moving and get drawing. So with that, let's get started. So I'm using tracing paper like I mentioned and felt pen. And since I don't draw a lot of scissors, I actually have some scissors here with me, a couple different kinds. These are my fabric shears, and then I've got some paper scissors, but essentially they function, the same way. There's a point of pivot, okay? You've got two blades that are really thin, and you've got these handles, okay? One that's typically a little bit longer, if you will. And the closest shape I can think to this is something like an ellipse, but even looking at this, you can see there's probably a circle here, bigger circle, and then those are all connected. And there's something like a circle here. So I'm going to use that as a guide. There's also a slight contour on these scissors. We'll try and capture that. But the most important thing is pick a point of view. So I could be looking at the scissors, dead on like this. I can rotate them. I could be looking at them at this point of view. So just pick something that you feel shows off the part of the product or scene that you want to show. So in this case, we're going to sketch them flat, but as if they're on a table. We could do open or close, but I'll just do close for this particular demo. So what I'm going to do here is use the technique, when in doubt, rough it out. So let's start with just a flat rectangular shape that's going to represent the overall volume of these scissors. Okay, now the important thing is to just try and capture the proportion of what you're doing. So that's why I've sketched it a little bit wider, a little bit longer, and so forth. It's a relatively flat perspective. There's not a ton of taper front to back, so we're not going to get a super dramatic thing here. And let's throw in a center line. And we just want to mark off where we feel like, I may actually extend this just a little bit. So kind of want to mark off where you feel like, for example, the central pivot of the scissor is going to be. And by pivot, I mean where that screw is. Okay. So with that, let's start. And I'm going to do the handles first. And so let's do the top handle. Again, like I said, it's kind of like an ellipse. We want to offset, which just means drop down a little bit on those ellipses. And now we have something that we could represent a handle. If you notice, there's a curve here, then it goes straight to that pivot. So let's get the pivot in. Nice ellipse here. And I'm not worrying about getting this perfect right now, but more importantly, just trying to capture those hard points. I'm going to throw a line in here because when I look at this scissor in particular, it looks like this is relatively flat. There's a slight curve. This one's a little bit more curved, right? So ergonomically. Also, we have this flare, but those are things we can add in the final sketch if we need to. But we'll keep it simple for now. Now, like I mentioned, if I look at this, it looks as though there's almost 1, 2, 3 circles. So let me do that a little bit better. 1, 2, 3. Now, if I want to sketch those in perspective, I could do something like this. 1, 2, 3, right? And then connect everything. So that's what I'm going to do right there. So let's take a look at this, kind of estimate from here to here how far over this is, and then we'll do our ellipses. 1, a bigger one here, smaller one, 3. And then we can connect all these. Now if I want to add the curve, I can add that curve. I'm not having to stress about things. Okay, and again, just offset those 2, 3, and now we have some volume for that portion of the scissor. Now, like I mentioned, we have our pivot. If we look at the scissor like so, you'll notice that one handle goes down and the other goes above. So let's get the thickness of this pivot established like so. So now we have a top half right there and a bottom half. So the bottom half is going to sweep up like so. And on the top, we have a little bit of overlap here, it looks like. And then we can connect these elements. And since we're not doing the exact same pair of scissors, I'm just using this as reference, we can modify the curves as we go. And then on the bottom, you'll notice it stays relatively flat. There's a slight curve, but we'll just capture this like so. Oh, made a mistake there. Okay, there we go. Just like so. All right. So, like I said, when in doubt, rough it out. That's exactly what we did here. And for me, that's just a way that helps if I'm not really sure how something works or how to sketch it. Now, I kind of like this pair of scissors. It's got this flare that kind of comes over. So I'm going to take this shape that we had. And if you can imagine, I know this is super messy, but if you can imagine a cross section like so, right, this is going to have a nice little sweep to it. Okay, so now for the blades, again, same thing, top, bottom, taper to a point. So we have our pivot, we have an end point. So all we have to do is kind of connect these like so and show a little bit of thickness here. And there we have a pair of scissors. All right, so we got our rough sketch. Now I can do a quick overlay. And the goal here is to not trace what I did before, but rather redraw. You don't really want to trace when you're sketching, or if you're trying to sketch like an industrial designer, I should say. We want there to always be this new and vibrant energy to the sketch. So if I trace, I'm using a lot more of my mental faculties than if I'm just being expressive. And if I'm overthinking it, we're going to feel it in the sketch and things are going to start to get a little jittery. Pardon me. Okay, so start with the blade here. And like I said, I'm just using this as a guide to resketch. And so my lines, I'm trying to keep fairly deliberate. And at this point, this is where I can, if I need to, use my wrist, just a little flick of the wrist to get the right line in. I'm going to try and get this ellipse right here. Okay, so one, and we have the inside. Always try and rotate your paper to a point that works for you. You don't want to have to feel like you're having to contort yourself to your paper, okay? Because that's going to make it just that much harder for you. Because these are some thick boy scissors here. All right. And then on the bottom, same thing. Just try not to trace as much as possible, but rather redraw. Rotate your paper to the angle that works for you and just get that line. All right, now I just want to make sure I get the right line here. Okay. Because I'm using a pen, I can't exactly feather this line, so rather than feathering it, I'm just going to put a dot or two at the end, and then on the inside of the handle here, just show the rest of that perimeter. Now, if you're just using pen, one thing that's helpful is you can use a contour line, just like that, just to show the overall shape of the handle. just pulling that away from the underlay, you can kind of see now what's happening. And I can do that on the other side as well, if need be. Add some shading in here, some shading like so, and so forth. A little texture. If we want to break this up now and have some sort of, overmolded element, you can cut that out. You can see already, because I traced that, it doesn't look as good, but that's all right. And then on the inside, I'm going to cheat and say that this overmolded material is on the inside as well, right through there, and as well on this top loop, just like that. Okay, we could do a drop shadow. We could do just a regular background if we want. I'm going to do just a nice rectangular background here for these scissors. Make sure we have the right line weight in the right places, just like so. I wouldn't consider this being necessarily a finished sketch page, but rather you could have this as a component of a larger sketch page, meaning you'd want to have some elements over here, like another scissor sketch, for example, over here on this side of the page, and maybe something else down here as well. But for our purposes, we'll just use this. And now I can add some color. So let's say we want to have some color on these overmolded portions. Using the one marker, because I am using tracing paper. If I need to, I can hit it again. Tracing paper does behave a little bit differently, so it's not going to actually absorb as much marker as regular paper. But I can rip this off now, and on the back side, once that's dry, just color in a bit more where we have our shadow cores and any kind of internal shadow. And then here on the scissor, just a little bit of gray in the right spots for shadowing, like so. And on our blade as well, I'm just going to add a couple lines like so, indicating perhaps some sort of reflection. You can see that on the front now. And just coming back in with the marker on the other side, we can kind of clean that up so it feels a lot better. But we have that variation in value, if you will, on our sketch. Okay, so there's our quick sketch of a pair of scissors in one point of view. Hopefully you guys were able to follow along, and I hope that you got something from this video, because if you did, I want you to share it. I want you to tell your friends, tell your mama, your kids, whoever. Maybe not kids, but that's a joke about YouTube. But just share the video if you like what you watched, and definitely pay it forward. Give back. If you know something that someone else doesn't, definitely share that. That's what's important. That's why I do what I do, and I love what I do. Well, thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe, turn on alerts, and comment if there's something you want to see. Let me know. Hit me up on the socials, slide in my DMs, all that good stuff. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on Sketch-A-Day.